Steve Kramer had the most curious mind. I guess that's why he went into journalism.
Photojournalism.
That's right, photojournalism. And a freelancer at that.
Of course he was freelance. No paper could handle him on staff. The guy was undirectable. Worked on stories he thought were interesting.
Might as well have been on the Tribune staff. Even though he was freelance, he'd always send his work to Jack Tower, the story editor for the Daily Tribune. Jack liked Steve's work. Printed just about anything Steve sent in.
I guess the trouble all started with that visit to the used bookstore.
It sure did. That's where he came across the old note, addressed to Francis Eugene Carlatta.
Instructions for a murder to take place on November 11th, 1958.
And of course, he had to find out if that murder ever took place.
Poor old Simon Fowler bought it that day in 1958, precisely as the note instructed. The article even went on to name Frank Carlatta the chief suspect.
Carlatta never went to court, though. The police had no hard evidence that he was involved with the murder.
Well, Steve Kramer had evidence. Evidence that he might have brought to the police right away. If he hadn't had that terrible itch to find out what Frank Carlatta was up to these days.
Carlatta Douglas.
Hello?
Hello? I'm trying to reach a Francis Eugene Carlatta.
Sorry, wrong number.
Carlatta. Nancy.
Hello?
Hello, I'm trying to reach a Francis Eugene Carlatta.
Who's calling?
Steve Kramer, freelance reporter for the Tribune.
Mr. Carlatta died 6 years ago. You all know that. Please don't call me back. Hello?
Hello.
You sound much too young to be Mr. Carlotta's wife. Do you mind if I...
That's because I'm his granddaughter, and yes, I do mind, whatever it is. Please don't pursue this any further. Hello, Uncle Jimmy. It's Nancy. I think you better come over. It's reporter. He's calling about Grandpa Carlatta.
This Carlatta character was the chief suspect in 13 unsolved murders. Why wasn't he ever prosecuted?
Almost was. 6 years ago, the police were inches away from a conviction. Then came the accident.
What? What accident?
Well, Frank Carlatta burned to death in a car accident.
Come on.
3 coroners identified the body.
So they stopped the investigation?
No use trying to convict a corpse.
Jack, what if that accident had never taken place?
Well, no doubt he'd be on death row. I mean, they were this close to getting him.
Steve had a hunch that Nancy Carlatta would tell someone about his inquiring phone calls, and that she would tell them in person.
She got a visit all right, and Steve got plenty of pictures of her visitors, even if he didn't know who they were.
He did some more digging, through newspaper files and old stories about the Carlatta family.
And began writing a story.
It wasn't much of a story, just some speculation based on the old note, the confusing phone conversations with Nancy Carlatta, and the dozen or so pictures of her visitors.
He knew he had a story, and he had another hunch, that the Carlatta family might try to keep him away from the newspapers. Every once in a while, a good reporter gets involved in an extraordinary story, but all their work ends up going for nothing.
But then again, every once in a while...
Hi, Sandy. What'd you come up with?
Steve Kramer's been missing for 10 days. Nobody's seen or heard from him.
What about these pictures he sent in with the Carlatta store?
Well, the lab says that they've definitely been shot within the last 2 weeks, and we just got a positive ID on the man in the tan coat.
And?
It's Frank Carlatta.